Hello everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Mario So, and today we'll be talking about the best lens 50 bucks can get you. So how are you all doing today? It's great to see you back here on the channel. Happy 2021. I know 2020 was a weird one, a difficult one, a challenging one for many, but we've made it through. And I also hope that 2020 helped you reflect, help you improve, help you learn new skills, which I know I did, and I'm thankful for that. So if you're new here, I create weekly content on filmmaking, photography, gear review. And if that's something you think you'll be into, please hit that subscribe button to stay in the know of future content. I have a lot of exciting stuff planned for 2021, and I hope that you join me along in the journey. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to see where 2021 will take us, and I'm glad that you're part of this journey. All of the footage that you just saw in the B-roll sequence just now was shot using this $50 lens. Well, for me in Canadian, it cost me a little bit more than that, close to $70, $75. So the lens that I want to review today is the Helios 44M-4 58mm. This is a full frame lens, but on an APS-C camera, you'll probably get about 87mm of a focal length. This is a pretty fast lens. It has a pretty good low light performance at an aperture of f2. And it also closes down all the way to f16. I heard about this lens a few years ago, but never thought too much about it. But recently, after seeing some footage that you can get out of it, I fell in love and I decided to get one for myself. It did take a very long time to get here. I ordered this lens on Etsy about October or November, and I didn't get it till end of December. It did take a long time, but the wait was worth it. This is a lens from old Soviet Russia, and it was manufactured from the 1950s to the 1990s. This one in particular, I think it's from the 1980s if I'm not mistaken, but regardless of the exact year this one was made, the construction of this lens is very, very good. So let's talk about a few reasons why I decided to pick up this lens. First of all, I really like the swirly bokeh that you get out of this lens, and I also love the type of blur background that you get out of this lens. It's a very different type of bokeh that you get from this lens, unlike some of the modern lenses. It gives you a little bit more of the old camera film look, and that blurry background that comes out of this lens is really nice. This lens is able to give you a distinct creative look, as opposed to modern lenses that have that digital and that very sharp look. Not to say that sharpness is not good, but sometimes if you want your footage to stand out a little bit, you go into and need to introduce something like this. A lot of modern lenses are very sharp and everything, which is a very good thing. But because of that, modern lenses lack their own flair, their own character, and their own personality. So this lens has sort of its own personality, its own character, and its own look. You can see that the footage that comes out of this is very unique, and it's unlike any other lens that you see out there, which is one of the reasons why I love it. I like the fact that it's not super sharp, but instead it gives you a little bit more of an old school, old film kind of look. Let's talk about build quality. For this lens to have gone through a bunch of decades and still be able to be sold from a store, the build quality speaks for itself. It's made of metal and is very well built. And this is the actual lens. It's actually a very tiny lens, but once you have the adapter on, it becomes a little bit bigger. But this size is still quite compact, and I wouldn't worry about it being too bulky. This lens is an M42 mount, as it was meant for standard cameras. All you need to do is just get yourself an adapter to adapt them to a modern day Canon or a Sony camera. I have this adapter that goes from the M42 mount to Sony E-mount cameras. One thing with this lens though is that it's a manual lens, meaning that you won't get autofocus on this lens, and you have to adjust aperture manually on the lens as well as focus. So there is an aperture and a focus ring for you to adjust these settings manually. There are hard stops for the aperture ring, which goes all the way from f2 to f16. There's a click at each f-stop. This helps if you want to build up muscle memory and you want to adjust the aperture without looking at the lens. The focus ring is actually quite rigid. It's not as smooth as I would like it to be. I'm not sure if this is the case with this particular unit that I got. Unlike lenses on mirrorless cameras that are focused by wire, the focus ring here has a hard stop from its minimum focusing distance to its maximum focusing distance. One thing that I do not like about the focus ring is that it takes forever to go from its minimum focusing distance to infinity. The focus throw is just too long, and if you wanted to rack focus, it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge because it's going to take forever to do that. Honestly, I think we've been very spoiled with autofocus in the last few years. I remember when I started shooting weddings, I was shooting my weddings in manual focus. I was shooting on a Nikon D800 at that time, and also sometimes on a D5100, and autofocus was just terrible, so I would just shoot manually. It was hard to nail focus every single time, especially shooting live events, but that really helped me develop my skills in focusing. Maybe one day I'll be a focus puller on a Hollywood set. So this lens is a good way for you to practice those manual focusing skills. So let's talk about image quality. So the bokeh that comes from this lens is very swirly, but you can see that in the center, it's a little bit more circular, and it gets more swirly as you reach the edges of the frame. Distortion in this lens is very minimal, but I did notice that the edges were not as perfect. In terms of sharpness, wide open at f2, it was the least sharp, but that's usually the case. It starts to sharpen more around f4 and higher. And you can really see that the center is where all the sharpness is concentrated, and as you move to the edges, it starts to get less sharp. So this lens is overall sharper at slower f-stops, but if you're getting this, I would recommend you shoot always wide open, or as wide as you can. This is the reason why you would get this lens anyway, to get that softer look and to get that swirly and cool bokeh in the background. Is this lens for you? I mean, if you have 50 bucks lying around and you want to get yourself a lens, this is a really good option to get. You're going to get very unique footage and photos, and that can add to your production value. It'll definitely take a lot longer for you to get that shot because you have to manually focus, but I think this is a lens worth giving a try. I've only had this lens for a couple of weeks and it's now made it to my camera bag. If you use this on a gimbal, or if your subject is moving a lot, you're going to have to maintain that distance between you and your subject in order to maintain focus. So let me know in the comments below what you thought about the footage that you just saw coming out of this lens. If you'd like to check this lens out, or if you'd like to order one for yourself, I'll leave links in the description below for you to check it out. I ordered mine on Etsy, but I think you can order it on eBay as well. Just be mindful that it might take a few months for you to get it. So that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And again, happy 2021, and until next time.